Hey, good day. And we're back with Service Over Self podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Brent Carmichael, here with my good friend, Henry Saxon.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good to be with you.
Today, we're going to, bring something to you that, we think that is very important as you talk about service in the community. So today's podcast, we're going to talk about the intergenerational service to the community. We're going to try to give our listeners a chance to engage or give you some ideas and engagement into some proactive conversations with people from different generations.
Well, it's an interesting topic, and we're going to have a lot of fun with it. Before we get started, though, I want us to give thanks and glory to our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Without him, we would not be here, so let's lift him up and make him proud today.
So as I, thought about this, Sax, and trying to come up with something that I think our listeners would be interested in, thinking about growing up, and again, I relate a lot of the things back to my life and growing up. I think about the people that were elder or seasoned, as we call them now, the importance that they shared their history and the things that they did in the community that helped me put me on my path.
Yeah, I think the topic for today, I think it's a very interesting one, and it's to shed some light on developing an appreciation for all generations, particularly through the prism of servicing and supporting the development of the less fortunate. And so I think there's a lot of lessons that we can learn, and we're excited about sharing a few of them with our audience today.
And I think the first thing is knowledge sharing. We talked in one of our earlier podcasts about young people learning from us and being able to share the things with our young people. When you think about the elder generation, I think we've missed that boat right now in getting that history and the things that they had to do together, in order to just survive. And so when you think about serving each other, back then they had to be as one to be able to serve each other.
No question about it. And, and as I think about this, I think the responsibility of framing this whole thing begins with the elder adults. And I think it's the responsibility of the seasoned to establish the expectation, to model what they want to see, behaviors from their younger members of the family. So I think the responsibility really is on us to set it up, to frame it, to set the example for younger generations to follow.
And that's a good way for you to explain that, because I want to come from the youth perspective, and knowing that we as an older generation need to, again, engage with the younger generation, but we could learn from them. Learn, especially with the ever-changing things that are going on in our society, as far as especially technology or just things with your phone or your iPad, or a lot of things now, or you have to use email or pay your bills online, those kind of things. I think we as an elder or seasoned, we need to speak with our young people and let them give us some ways, again, that we may be able to connect with the community through social media or through technology.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think, another beneficial philosophy to the whole thing is I think your experience is overall better if you have diversity in thought, diversity in the people you interact with. You don't want to do anything in life really by surrounding yourself who see the world through the same lens.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we go out there and volunteer, and there might be, to your point, there might be some administrative requirements. It might be a need to promote what you're doing. It might be other things where clearly our generation does not set the standard for it, right? And so,
Right.
so the younger folks got us, clearly beat on the technology side, especially when it comes to the contemporary technology. And so, just tapping into that skill set is a good thing.
So as you look, from the perspective of the young people, and I think one of the ways that they would be able to, one, get their service in, but also get that same history, is visiting nursing homes. We have a lot of elderly people that are in nursing homes that don't have anyone coming and visiting, and their loved ones are either live away or working a lot. And I think, as we try to engage our young people, that is one tool that I think we could share with them to try and engage them in learning from those in nursing homes.
Yeah, nursing homes are a terrific way to volunteer, regardless of your age, first and foremost. But I think it particularly useful if you're younger, much younger, because you can learn so much from folks who have lived their life to the fullest, and like you said, what we call seasoned. They can impart so much wisdom, and you as a young person, they would feed off of your energy, would feed off of your spirit. Mm-hmm. And so it's a two-way beneficial engagement. So, but that's a great example of how intergenerational service could work.
So I have a question for you. As you look back on your career and with the Boys and Girls Club, what do you think, or do you have any community service projects that you did that you've seen with both generations being engaged with the things that you were doing?
Yeah, I can tell you it was one of the first nights on the job when I went to the national organization. And I'll never forget, I was in Norfolk, Virginia at the Southside Boys and Girls Clubs, and they had a Thanksgiving dinner. And this was, I'm not going to name the community in Norfolk, but it was one of those really under-resourced communities. And so the whole community showed up. And I just remember that, the director at the club, had everybody from the community to bring food. They had face painting, events. I'd never seen a nonprofit organization had so much of a family-oriented experience, and everybody appreciated it. It was grandmothers there, mothers there, uncles, aunts.
Yes.
There was music. It was just, and I remember just being so moved by it, and everybody was doing their part. Everybody was having conversations. The kids, which is the through line for the whole thing, they were on fire, and it was just a wonderful, wonderful thing. And for me, it was every chance we get, we need to build environments that foster that kind of spirit.
That was my next point, is that we need more of those kind of events, because again, that as a person who deals with a lot of the high risk youth, which all of our youth in my mind are high risk because of things that are going on, but that's another podcast. That we don't talk to our young people like we should, and I think events like that gives us that chance to be able to share and talk and laugh and build relationships, and so perfect for community service.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So, what are some other interactions with generational differences where we can learn from each other? One of the things I want to bring to mind, where I think for younger people, where they could certainly benefit from engaging with older folks, is older folks have, in a way, been able to see around the corner if you are 10, 20, 30 years their junior. Mm-hmm. They have lived life a lot further ahead of a younger person, and their perspective on life, I think, is a lot more richer. Mm-hmm. So, and that's whether you're volunteering, supporting an older person, or just engaging in that person to give you guidance on how to volunteer. So I think you made reference to the technology benefit. Mm-hmm. Well, I would counter that with sharing that the philosophy, the standards, the values, mm-hmm. the history, the commitment that you need to have, I think can be best learned with folks who've been there before.
Yes. One of the unfortunate things about technology is it does decrease the need for us to have conversation. And so I definitely think that we have to learn how to walk that fine line. But one other area that I would like to just throw at you real quick, and in as far as intergenerational, is having those, preteens or teens being mentors to our youngins, to our 3 to 5 year olds that are in Head Start, being able to, because I believe those 3 to 5 year olds would be able to identify a little better with, those preteens or those teens, that we could have them engage by going to the lower levels and being able to engage them in just giving back to the younger kids.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I would only qualify it with one thing, and it's probably my youth development background talking, but I'm a big fan of, regardless of your age, is training volunteers and briefing volunteers, mm-hmm. particularly with younger people. I think mm-hmm. it's important to know the psychological, the emotional, and the physical characteristics of an age group in particular, and you can brief it in a digestible way, but mm-hmm. you don't want people losing their cool or mm-hmm. getting frustrated because you don't know the characteristics of the folks you're trying to do mm-hmm. work with, and we get this energy just on sheer benevolence to help, mm-hmm. but you have to have the knowledge and skill to be able to know, to be effective, to be able to know what you're dealing with and who you're dealing with to be effective.
Mm-hmm. I agree 100% with that, and I look at that as even with our people of our age who have never been out there with service. We need to train them too, and so I think that has to be a precursor for anyone that's going to be out there in service.
I mean, we see gaps in this all over the place. In fact, I'm guilty of it. We especially the those of us that are older, like I think you said it in another show, we tend to judge.
Yes.
And it just exposes our cultural misunderstanding of the generation behind us, let's say. Yes. And especially if you're in a volunteer capacity, right? You just can't look down your nose at people because you make assumptions that aren't valid about who they are. So one of the best ways to remedy that is talk to people their age.
Yes.
And get an understanding about what they're going through, mm-hmm. Kind of demystify some of these crazy theories we might have about the generation behind us, because everybody thinks their generation is the best. Right? Yeah. Everybody thinks that, right?
Yes.
And I just don't. I think if you had to be totally objective, every generation brings some value to society.
To try to piggyback on what you had talked about, the training piece, I think what we have with this society right now, with everything being immediate gratification, I think we have to have patience and being able to walk our young people or walk those that need service, walk them through the right ways, just again to keep them on the right lane and the right mentality in being able to work with people in the community.
Yeah, well, I think that's the backbone of service, is teaching.
Mm-hmm.
and imparting wisdom and imparting knowledge. So I agree with you 100%. So Brent, how should we share with our listeners our our philosophies of the benefit and interaction between generations when it comes to service? Like, what is your teachable point of view on the topic?
I'll go back to my grandmother. You'll hear me probably every time go back to my grandmother, who shared with me about that all the things that she's taught me will always be with me, and the more that I share that with others, that's how we keep her alive. And so I think the thing that I would like to share with our listeners as it relates to your question is being able to have that impact where you're sharing things that people can share with others. Because if you don't share it and you just hold on to it, it's not, to me, that's not service. When you think about service, in my opinion, is being able to serve others. And I give you another example real quick. Last night I was at one of my at our fraternity brothers meeting, and one person said, "It's not who you know, it's who knows you." And so even when you talk about service, in the community, it's not who you know, it's the people say, I remember him because he served his community. And I think that, to me, is kind of how I lead myself through this life of service.
Yeah, I think that's well said. And my teachable point of view would be going back as the older generation, not the oldest, but getting up there. I think we have the responsibility to setting the expectation, especially to the younger generation, that service is a part of your quality of life.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because they come into this world not knowing, and for me and you and many in our generation, our elders shared that with us.
Yes.
So I think for starters, we need to be able to insist that that's a characteristic of higher living, giving to others. The other, and I think that should be amplified by points like what Dr. King said: anybody can be great because anybody can serve, right? So, but I think when it comes to successful service in the community and to others, like you said earlier, being able to listen to all representation of different generations to get the very best out of the experience, number one, and number two, being able to understand by getting representation from everybody, especially younger people.
Mm-hmm. So when you think about, or when I think about the word self as we relate to it in service, I don't know if we've discussed this piece yet. And I think you may have the first podcast that we did, is making sure that it's something you're passionate about, because that way, as you engage, it could be if you're like doing art or art culture, volunteer, with someone that's doing things in the community that's related around art, because your passion is going to exude itself as you go out and do your service in the community, and you'll keep doing it, and you will have an influence on others. So I think we really have to engage our listeners, and whatever service you decide, make sure you're passionate about it.
I think you're right, and I want to take a little point of privilege here to kind of double click on that a little bit. What do you think is in you to ignite that passion? Like, what is it about the human condition that ignites that passion for people to have an unusually high interest in helping others? What do you think is What do you think causes that?
Well, for me, it's God. It is. I believe that's my calling. I do. That is, without his guidance and some things that I've gone through in my life, that he has allowed me to still be here and being able to do the things that I'm doing, I'm giving him all the glory to give me the passion. But the second thing beyond that is the people that put me in their circle as a kid. They put me in their circle and they showed me by example what it means. Again, John Perez, I talk about him a lot, but we used to play basketball games and he would play by himself and he would play 3 or 4 of us and he would still beat us. But it was because he out hustled. He did everything to show that he was going to beat us by hustling, not because he was better than us, but by hustling. And so I think that gave me the ideal of whatever you do, be passionate about it. And once I started working with kids and seeing the influence, the passion just came, and I think I give all the glory to God.
Yeah, I totally agree. God gets and deserves the glory for putting that spirit in us.
Yes.
But honestly, I think he puts it in everybody.
Yeah.
And so looking back, I definitely give glory to him. I think the triggers for me in terms of being sensitive to helping others is, having a sense of humility,
Mm-hmm.
about yourself,
Yes.
We've been blessed.
Mm-hmm.
And I said it before that a lot of people would trade places with us, and to have that sense of appreciation for the blessings that you have in life. And so I think it's the installation of concepts like that's been placed in our spirit that lends itself to us to be interested in helping other people and not be so self-absorbed
And kind of hints,
ourselves.
kind of why I kind of hope to give our listeners an idea of what we're talking about, and mentioning the passion, because the blessings are there, the blessings are in all of us, but it's also a blessing to be able to be passionate about something, because you're going to get engaged a little more when you're passionate about it.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I remember again I got a lot of Boys and Girls Club stories, but I remember talking to one of my kids who was this phenomenal basketball player. He ended up going to a top 10 college team and was a high draft choice and played many years in the NBA. But I remember when he was 12 or 13, and we were in my office one day, and he was kind of going through the big man on campus stuff, and he was getting the notoriety. And I was telling him then, I said, listen, you had nothing to do with any of your skill.
Mm-hmm.
Don't act like it's you.
Right.
This is a blessing. I could line up 100 kids, that can work just as hard as you, do every drill you do, the whole nine. But you will still be superior over them. Why? Because you were blessed.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
You were blessed.
Yes.
And this is, I'm serious. He was like 12, 13. I said, when ESPN starts interviewing you and telling you how great you are, don't buy into it.
Yeah.
Just don't. I'm
Right.
just telling you, don't be that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because you had nothing to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
So take the humility, have some consciousness about it, serve other people, and I just remember having that conversation.
And look what you passed on.
Yeah, and that's how I feel.
Mm-hmm. And that's the blessings.
Yeah,
that's the blessings right there, is being able to pass on, and you having that wisdom and knowledge to be able to pass that on to a young man that you already seen.
Yeah.
Had the talent, had the blessings, was blessed to have that athletic ability, but you knew you had to speak to him about that. And that to me right there, I just got chills. I did.
Yeah, it was an interesting conversation. Yeah, it was an
Awesome.
interesting conversation. Well, Brent, as we wind down, any closing thoughts around this wonderful topic?
Just like to get our listeners to work together. Don't hesitate to engage and build relationships with people from different generations, because you can learn a lot from them, and both sides. Just engage, please.
I think it's well said. We appreciate you coming to this edition of Service Over Self, this wonderful episode. We'll talk to you next time, and be blessed.